Hey guys, Andrew Shrout here in the sideboard, and I'm here with everyone's favorite swan, Derrick Sheets, striking his 2-2 swan pose, the Season 1 Invitational champion, and we're here to talk about your standard deck.
Cool.
So let's dive right in. You're playing Abzan Reanimator.
Very original.
Sure. Yeah, this is a deck that is certainly on players' radars already, so we'll kind of fly through it quickly in terms of the card selections.
Sure.
Courser, Krufix, Sylvan Caryatid, these are sweet cards. You're actually only playing 3 Caryatid.
Yeah, that's very
deviation.
unorthodox. Everyone else is probably playing 4, which is may or may not be right. The reason I'm playing 3 is because I expect the mirror to be pretty popular and a bunch of control decks, and it's the card you want to not have in the control decks. You'd much rather have like more impactful spells because the game's going to go late innately. So having, it's basically like lands 27, 28, 29, you know?
Okay.
So it's just a little hedge.
All right. Just like a little more action, a little less air going late.
It actually let me play an extra sideboard card
Okay.
because I'm playing a card main deck that would normally be on my board.
4-Stater Wayfinder, you are a Reanimator deck.
Yeah.
Pretty stock. 3 Hornet Queen, 3 Doomwig Giant, 4 Siege Rhino.
Very original, like the deck in general.
These are just
pretty standard numbers.
Yeah.
Some people play 2. It's good against tokens, good in the mirror. I'd rather have 3.
Okay. These are just the best things to whip in, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then 2 Farika, God of Affliction.
That is probably not a lot of cards. A lot of people playing Abzan are probably not playing a main deck. If you're playing Green-Black Devotion, you might be playing it. I'm playing it just another hedge in the mirror. It's fantastic in that matchup.
Okay.
It's probably going to win me more games than any other card in the mirror match. It's that good. It does kind of, lose a little of its thunder against some of the other decks, but I'm expecting a lot of Reanimator and a lot of whip strategies, and it's
Okay.
A+.
All right. 3 Whip of Erebos, the anchor.
Yeah, for sure. It's the card. 2
Murderous Cuts, and a little more variety in the removal. We have 2 Cut, 2 Downfall, and 1 Absent Charm.
Sure. I actually don't really like removal spells if all they do is kill creatures, because I feel like against a lot of the mid-range strategies, 1-for-1 spot removal spells in the mid and late game are kind of lackluster, so I really like my removal spells to do something else, which is why I'm playing Downfall. Absent Charm is super versatile, and I also have an Utter End on the other slide, which is the same thing. It's a spot removal spell, but it also does something else when spot removal is not good.
Okay.
4 Thoughtseize is also another card that if you're playing a main deck, you might be playing 2, you might be playing 1, but no one is probably playing 4. It's just a card I really want to draw. In game 1s, it even does more working than in the sideboard. I think the problem is when it's bad, it's really bad. But I think the games are going to go long. We're going to see a bunch of grindy decks, and I'd like to have 4 Thoughtseizes for this matchup in Blue-White Heroic.
Okay. All right, and then you mentioned the 1 Utter End, and then some lands.
Yep. A lot of people are playing Reclamation Sage as a hedge for the whip mirrors. It's a little bit better if you get a whip into play. You might be able to get extra value. Utter End also kills whips in the mirror. Exiles Stings, which is super good. And Farika, I plan on being my trump instead of Reclamation Sage, so Utter End is filling the spot of what other people might play a 3rd Murderous Cut, and I slid into Utter End.
All right, just a little flexibility there.
Right, exactly.
All right. We won't talk too much about the mana base. It's a mana base.
Yeah, it's a mana base. It's good.
Yeah.
Bunch of scry lands.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about what led you to this deck in particular. Why did you choose to play Abzan Reanimator?
I wanted to play a deck that doesn't lose to itself a lot. I don't want to play a deck that might have... but Blue-White Heroic is a perfectly fine deck. I don't like decks where you need to draw some cards of A cards and some cards of B cards, and that's how you use to win games. I want my cards to be good and proactive. Another thing is I wanted to play this deck and then just beat, because I think it's the best whip deck, and then play cards to beat the whip decks because I expect that to be such a large part of the field. And that's the reason I settled on this one. Is you're going to be proactive because Siege Rhino is a little bit more aggressive than a 2/2 and Eidolon Blossoms, and you really can just tune your deck to beat the other whip decks.
All right. And then you mentioned that you're expecting this to be a Reanimator heavy field.
Yes.
This tournament's a little abnormal because it's so small.
Sure.
The players their range is known. So talk to me a little about what you're expecting the metagame to look like.
I expect it to be primarily whip decks. There'll be maybe a Monsters guy, green-red guy, maybe a Mardu player or 2. Jeskai Tokens is probably going to be number 2 behind the whip decks, and I kind of just blanket all the whip decks and with just whip decks, even though there's 3, Sidisi, Abzan, and green-black. But I would just call them all whip decks. And I expect that to be pretty much the field. I don't expect anyone's going to be crazy and play mono-red. There'll probably be a blue control player or 2.
Okay.
But I don't think anyone's going to go too far under us outside of the Blue-White Heroic decks.
All right. So we'll get to the sideboard then. How was your sideboard choices? Were they kind of predicated on this being a predictable field, or are you trying to kind of shore up?
Yeah, very much so. I don't have any cards particularly wonderful against mono red except Drown in Sorrow.
Okay.
I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope no one plays turn 1, Fire Drink Crusader against me.
Okay.
And then the sideboard cards are very indicative of what I expect the field to be.
Okay.
Glares of Heresy against Blue-White Heroic. Drown Sorrows against the token strategies, Reclamation Sage against whip decks or decks that I need to kill their enchantments.
All right.
Utter End is just another versatile card. It's the third disenchant when you're talking about Reclamation Sage. You also can bring it against monster decks just to kill creatures. It's good in the green-black mirrors because it kills whips, and I expect them to also have Freakas in the post board. Exiles that, no problem. You don't have to worry about them whipping it back. The Planeswalkers are against any deck where you're just going to need more value, especially a Johnny Mentor of Heroes, which also plays a big part of the mirror, because not only if you play it on turn 5, does that mean you get attackers with Siege Rhinos and they don't have any good blocks, you can just keep plussing it against any decks where you just need to draw more cards. It's fantastic. And the way this tournament is worked out, if you just gain 100 life and you win game 1, game 2 is probably looking real good.
Fair. All right.
Abzan, Charm, Stay in the Mind. Another good cards in the mirror, fantastic against any of the mid-range strategies. Stay in the Mind, I expect to be a good trump in the mirror match. You can either get their Doomwakes if you're on a Hornet Queen planet. You can get their Hornet Queens if you're on the racing plane. You can get their Whips if you're ahead on Whips and they don't have any. So it's a fantastic trump. Also a catch-all, because I think my deck, I don't have a race. It's going to be pretty bad against Jeskai Synesy combo. If I cast that before Jeskai Synesy combo, probably going to be pretty good for me.
Okay. All right. And that's we have one
yeah,
last
two
one.
more. Dead Drop, a hedge against the Blue-White Heroic decks. Games 2 and 3, they have to side out a little bit of their speed in order to have more protection. So Dead Drop actually just turns into, Chainer's Edict with buyback against them. It does cost 10, but I'm expecting it to cost 5 or 6, and that's completely okay. You're going to set it up with Thoughtseize if you need to.
Right.
Doomwake Giant, another card against Hornet Queen decks, against Jeskai tokens, or any time where you just need a 4-6.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in and talking to me.
Yeah, man.
And good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Stick around. We've got plenty more coverage coming of the Players' Championship here in Roanoke.